Welcome to the deep dive, where we jump into a stack of information and pull out the most important insights and nuggets of knowledge just for you. Today, we're plunging into the world of cryptocurrency security. Specifically, cold wallets like ledger devices, and a really kind of concerning new wave of threats targeting the software you use with them. It feels like every single day there's another headline about digital security, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. But, this isn't just background noise. What we're seeing is a very specific evolving threat landscape, and it's directly targeting trusted tools like Ledger Live.
Okay.
So our mission in this deep dive is to help you understand not just what is happening, but really how these attacks work, maybe who is behind them, and most importantly, why it matters for anyone holding crypto.
Yeah, protecting your digital assets is paramount. And securing the underlying data, the access, that's absolutely the first step. And speaking of security, this deep dive is sponsored by Stonefly. They're a leader in enterprise storage, backup and disaster recovery, AI storage, and cloud solutions. If you're looking for secure, ransomware-proof storage, then Stonefly sells air-gapped and immutable storage. You can contact sales@stonefly.com to schedule a demo.
Right. And we've been looking at information related to these attacks for a while now. Observations started kicking off around August 2024, roughly. We've seen how they've evolved since then, the specific tricks being used, the actors involved, and critically, the steps you can actually take to stay safe.
And I think here's the core aha moment, the thing
Yeah.
that cuts through a lot of the complexity. It's not really about attackers somehow breaking into the physical hardware wallet itself. That's incredibly difficult. The real target is you, specifically tricking you into giving up that master key, your 24-word seed phrase. Okay, let's unpack how they're doing this.
Right. So those initial observations, like I said, began around August of last year. We started seeing malware being distributed that created these malicious clones of the Ledger Live software.
Clones, okay.
Yeah. And these early versions, well, they could steal sensitive information already present on your computer, things like saved passwords, maybe notes,
Yeah.
perhaps some general wallet details they could scrape together. Now, this was bad because attackers could see your info,
Yeah.
maybe get a sense of what assets you held, but
But they couldn't actually take the crypto at that point. Like, they couldn't move it.
exactly. They had the map, maybe, but not the key to the treasure chest.
Yeah.
That changed, and this is the critical shift that happened within about a year. Attackers adapted. They figured out how to modify these malicious clones to steal the seed phrases themselves.
Ah.
That is the game changer. Because once they have that 24-word phrase, well, they can simply restore your wallet on their own device and empty it.
So the whole focus of the attack shifted. It went from just snooping around, gathering info, to outright theft. All because they figured out how to get that crucial seed phrase from the user. How are they pulling that off? What's the main tactic here?
The core tactic is, conceptually, pretty simple, though the execution can be technically sophisticated. They want to replace the legitimate Ledger Live application on your computer.
Swap it out.
Swap it out with a malicious version. And the ultimate goal of this fake app is to create a situation where you are tricked into manually typing your 24-word seed phrase directly into an interface that looks like Ledger Live, but, well, isn't.
But why go through all that trouble?
Yeah.
Replacing the app, tricking the user. Why not just try to hack the physical Ledger device or the real Ledger Live software directly? Seems easier.
Because the security architecture of Ledger wallets and similar hardware wallets is designed specifically to keep that seed phrase off your computer, off your phone. It's securely stored only on the hardware device itself.
Right. Isolated.
It's exactly isolated. This makes it extremely difficult, often technically impossible, for typical malware to directly access the seed phrase while it's just sitting there on the Ledger device. So attackers are forced to pivot. They can't easily break the hardware's cryptography, so they target the human element, you using social engineering, using phishing, to get you to give them the phrase.
Okay. So the hardware's strong security essentially pushes the attackers toward manipulating the user instead. That makes a lot of sense. Can we look at some specific examples, like how these campaigns actually play out, the sneaky techniques?
Absolutely. Let's talk about one notable threat actor, known as Rodrigo, operating with malware called Odyssey. They introduced what was described as a, quote, game-changing feature in their tools around March 2025.
Kind of flip the script, as we heard.
Precisely. Odyssey found a way to bypass Ledger Live's intended security model. How? By using a pretty sophisticated phishing scheme built into their fake app. The malicious program would first grab the username from the computer, maybe from a standard location like .username, then it would display an HTML phishing page to the user.
Okay.
This page would present a deceptive, critical error message, something alarming, falsely claiming that your seed phrase was needed right then and there to fix the issue or recover your account.
Oh, that's insidious. It taps into that immediate panic you feel when you see an error message, especially one involving your money.
Exactly. And if a user fell for it, typed in their phrase. Both the seed phrase and the username were immediately packaged up and sent back to the attacker's command and control server via specific URL structure. This really set a dangerous precedent for how to effectively phish for the ledger seed phrase using a fake application interface.
And I bet other groups saw that success and copied the approach.
You bet. Yeah, the notorious atomic macOS stealer, or AMOS, as a prime example. It adopted Rodrigo's playbook pretty quickly. They deployed a very similar phishing page, specifically designed to target Ledger Live users with that same kind of fake error need your seed phrase request.
So how does an AMOS infection typically start for a user? How does it get onto their machine?
Often, it begins with a malicious file disguised as a legitimate installer. Maybe a .dmg file you download, perhaps from a fake website you got redirected to from an ad or something. And they use this clever trick to bypass macOS's built-in security check, gatekeepers. It often involves getting you to interact with a specific file in the installer window, like dragging one icon onto another.
Just a simple drag and drop.
Yeah, seems harmless, right? But doing that allows the malicious script hidden inside to run with your user permissions, effectively sneaking past those initial gatekeeper safeguards.
Nasty. So they bypass a key security feature right at the start just by getting you to click and drag something innocuous looking. Then what happens once the malware starts running?
Well, the program often starts by performing some defense evasion. For instance, it checks if the computer it's running on is a virtual machine, like VMware or QEMU, which security analysts use to study malware safely.
Right. They don't want to be watched.
Exactly.
Mm.
It looks for specific signs of these virtual environments using system commands, and if detected, it just quits, exits immediately. It's a way for them to avoid being easily discovered and analyzed by researchers.
Smart way to stay hidden. If it doesn't detect a virtual machine, though, if it thinks it's on a real user's Mac, what's the payload then? What does it start doing?
Okay, so if it thinks it's on a real machine, the main payload executes. It typically uses scripting tools already present on macOS, like AppleScript, to start collecting a wide range of sensitive data. We're talking browser credentials, save logins, passwords from Chrome, Firefox, Safari. It grabs Apple Notes data, keychain databases, and importantly, it starts copying files. It specifically targets things like PDFs and known wallet configuration files from your desktop, document, and downloads folders. It was even seen looking specifically for config files related to apps like Binance and Timekeepers.
Wow.
All of this collected data gets compressed, zipped up usually, into a file maybe in your temporary TiVno directory.
Okay, so it's stealing a ton of personal data and other potential crypto-related files first before even getting to the ledger stuff.
Exactly. It's often a multi-stage attack. That initial stolen data, the zip file, is then sent back to the attacker's command and control server, usually via an HTTP POST request. But the attack doesn't finish there, not by a long shot. The AMOS campaign also typically downloads a Trojanized version of the actual Ledger Live application from some remote location, like a compromised website. It then tries to kill any legitimate Ledger Live processes that might be running. Kill Ledger Live. Then it attempts to remove the real application. This might even involve popping up a fake system dialog box asking for your administrator password, pretending it's a legitimate uninstall or update.
Tricking you into giving pseudo permission.
Precisely. And if successful, it finally installs its own malicious fake Ledger Live version in your main applications folder.
So they completely replace the real app with their fake one, banking on the idea that you won't notice the difference next time you launch it. How does the seed phrase phishing actually happen with that fake app then?
So the next time you click the Ledger Live icon, thinking you're opening the real deal, you're actually launching the attacker's fake version. It often displays a fraudulent welcome screen, maybe with a warning pop-up about an issue. It tries to lure you into clicking a button, often something like Restore Wallet or Repair Connection or Fix Error.
Plausible sounding options.
Very. If you click it, it takes you to a specific screen that is designed purely to harvest your seed phrase. Analysis shows this page dynamically generates 24 input fields right there on the screen, one for each word of your recovery phrase.
Wow, just 24 blank boxes staring back at you, asking for your secret key. That sounds like a huge red flag in retrospect, but I guess in the moment, if it looks and feels like your real app, maybe you're panicked. I can see how someone might fall for it.
Absolutely. The attackers are banking on that panic, that trust in the interface. As soon as you type in your 24 words into those fields and hit submit or restore or whatever the button says,
It's gone.
it's gone. That seed phrase data is immediately encoded, often using base64, and sent back via another PSC request to yet another server controlled by the attackers.
And then what? Do they just leave you hanging, or do they try to cover their tracks?
Oh, they try to cover their tracks. After the seed phrase is successfully exfiltrated, the fake app will often display another deceptive message. Maybe something like, application corrupted, please reinstall, or just a generic error screen. End.html was seen in some cases. This is designed to prevent you from immediately suspecting you've been phished. It buys the attackers precious time to use your seed phrase, restore your wallet on their end, and empty it before you even realize what truly happened. It's a really well thought out, albeit terrifying, infection chain.
It really is a comprehensive and scary process. What about this other actor we saw mention, mentalpositive? Were they doing similar things?
Well, there was chatter observed on some dark web forums where an actor using the handle mentalpositive was advertising a new feature in their malware. They specifically called it an anti-ledger feature. They claimed it was designed to, you guessed it, replace the Ledger Live application and phish for seed phrases. They even boasted about reducing the malware size, supposedly to make it harder to detect.
So more of the same tactics, potentially refined.
Potentially. Analysis of some samples associated with this actor, looking at older and newer versions, didn't reveal a fully functional active phishing capability for Ledger Live yet. There were some command and control servers identified and some minor code changes, possibly to obscure the author, but the anti-ledger feature itself might still be under development or planned for a future update.
So maybe that specific feature is still in the works, but the intent, the direction, is definitely there among these groups.
That seems to be the clear implication. It highlights that this isn't just one isolated campaign, it's becoming a trend on the dark web. Developing and sharing tools specifically designed for this type of attack against hardware wallet users is unfortunately growing.
We also looked at information about a campaign discovered more recently by Jamf, right? What was different there?
Yes. Research on that was published fairly recently, back in May 2025. But analysis showed the malicious files involved were actually uploaded months earlier, maybe around February or March. This suggests the campaign was active for a while before it was widely reported. This one also typically starts with a malicious file, maybe a DMG, disguised as a Ledger-related installer, often downloaded from a compromised server. This file contains malware hidden inside, sometimes packed using tools like PineStaller, which can make it harder for basic antivirus software to see the malicious code within.
And how does this specific attack attempt the phishing part?
This campaign also fetches elements from a remote web server controlled by the attackers. It tries to load a phishing interface, often using something called an iframe, embedded within what looks like the fake Ledger Live window. Again, it's trying to create that deceptive environment to trick you into entering your phrase.
Okay, same goal, slightly different technical execution.
Right. What was particularly interesting about this Jamf Discovered campaign, though, was its hybrid approach for collecting other sensitive data before the phishing attempt. It split its methods between using AppleScript, the system scripting tool, and using code written in Python.
A hybrid approach, why would they do that?
It can make detection trickier. Security tools might be good at spotting malicious AppleScript or malicious Python, but having the attack spread across both might let parts of it slip through.
Clever. What did each part do?
The AppleScript part might try to trick you with fake system password prompts, maybe claiming it needs your macOS password for something mundane like allowing Zoom to record the screen or for a software update. It will actually check if the password you enter is correct and may keep prompting if you get it wrong. You really want that system password. This AppleScript part was often used to steal specific types of files, maybe small ones under 50 KB or so, from your desktop and documents folders, as well as grabbing browser cookies like those from Safari.
Wow, tricking the user into giving up their main computer password. That opens up a whole other level of potential damage. What about the other part, the Python code?
The Python functions seemed geared towards broader data collection. This included stealing browser history, cookies, and saved logins from various browsers, Chrome, Firefox, etc. It also looked for specific browser extensions and settings, and crucially, it was explicitly designed to collect data stored in common default directories used by other cryptocurrency wallets you might have installed.
So it's grabbing credentials and files for other potential wallets you might have on your computer. Electrum, Exodus, Atomic Wallet, Koinomi, Binance configs were mentioned. even before it gets around to the ledger-specific phishing attempt.
Exactly. It's casting a really wide net for any valuable data it can find, while simultaneously having that specific focus on tricking ledger users with a fake app and the seed phrase phishing attempt. The exfiltration sending all this stolen data back to the attackers typically happens towards the end of the main malware routine after it's gathered everything it can.
Okay, so pulling back from the specific actors and campaigns, we can see these common patterns emerging, right? These tactics, techniques, and procedures, or TTPs, as security folks call them.
Absolutely. You see the initial access, phishing messages, fake installers, often from malvertising or spoofed sites, sometimes even tricking users into running commands in the terminal. Then execution, getting the user to actually run the malicious file. Defense evasion, using tricks to hide the code, checking for virtual machines.
Right, and then the credential access, stealing macOS passwords via fake prompts, grabbing keychain data, discovery, figuring out system details.
And then collection dot, grabbing specific files, browser data, targeting those crypto wallet directories. And finally, exfiltration, zipping it all up and sending it over the network, usually HTTP, POST, back to the command and control server, including, critically, sending those stolen seed phrases.
It's clear these attackers are using a sophisticated mix of technical malware skills and, frankly, classic con artist tricks social engineering. We've talked a lot about how they do it, but let's bring it back to the listener. Why should this really matter to someone listening right now who uses a ledger or maybe is thinking about getting one?
Because this isn't just theoretical stuff you read about in security blogs. We are talking about multiple active campaigns happening right now, specifically designed to target users like you who hold crypto on hardware wallets thinking they're safe. These attacks are cleverly built to bypass the strong technical security of the hardware itself by preying on user trust, on your habits, and exploiting those moments of panic when you see an error message.
Okay, so what's the absolute golden rule? If there's one single critical thing anyone with a ledger or a similar hardware wallet needs to drill into their head to stay safe from the specific threat, what is it?
The golden rule is stark, and it's simple, but it's everything. Never, ever share or type your 24-word seed phrase into any application, any website, or give it to any person asking for it, period. Not into an app on your computer, not onto a website you visit, not to someone claiming to be ledger support in an email or chat, and certainly not because some pop-up or error message tells you there's a problem and you need the phrase to fix it. No legitimate service or application for managing your ledger device will ever ask for your full seed phrase like that. Ever.
Okay, so that's crystal clear. Never type it into software or a website. Where should you use your seed phrase then? When is it actually appropriate?
You should only use your 24-word seed phrase on your physical ledger device itself. That's it. This is only necessary during the initial setup process, when you're first generating or entering the phrase onto the device screen using the physical buttons. Or the only other time is if you are genuinely restoring access after your device was lost, stolen, or wiped, and you're setting up a new or reset ledger device. You'd enter the phrase directly onto the new hardware device using its buttons and screen. The whole design ensures that seed phrase never needs to touch your internet-connected computer or phone screen during normal, everyday use, like just checking your balance or sending transactions.
That distinction is absolutely crucial, only on the physical device using the buttons and only for initial setup or genuine hardware recovery. Got it. What about getting the Ledger Live application onto your computer or phone in the first place? That seems like another critical point of failure.
It is. Another incredibly important step where attackers try to intercept you. You must only download the Ledger Live application from the official legitimate Ledger website. That's https://ledger.com/live download. Be extremely wary of clicking on sponsored search results on Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever attackers literally pay to have fake lookalike sites appear at the top of search results.
Oh yeah, those top ads can be really deceptive.
Totally. Avoid third-party download sites like CNET or Softpedia or whatever. Avoid links sent via email, DMs, Telegram messages, social media posts. Always, always double-check the URL in your browser's address bar. Look for subtle misspellings, extra characters, anything suspicious before you download or enter any information on any site purporting to be Ledger.
Okay, go direct. Verify the URL meticulously. Once I have the real app installed safely, what are the big red flags for these phishing attempts or malicious programs trying to trick me later on?
Be highly suspicious of any unexpected pop-ups, messages, emails, anything that appears to be from Ledger Live or Ledger support that suddenly warns you of critical errors, suspicious activity, maybe says your account is blocked, and then asks for your seed phrase to verify your identity or restore access or fix the problem. These are classic social engineering traps. Ledger will never proactively contact you like that asking for your seed phrase. They just won't.
What about other ways scammers might try to get that phrase, not just through a fake app?
Oh yeah, they use every channel imaginable. Be aware of fake phone calls, someone claiming to be from Ledger Security. Text messages, SMS phishing or smishing. Messages via encrypted apps like WhatsApp or Telegram, sometimes even physical postal mail, believe it or not. And definitely fake social media accounts pretending to be official support channels.
Wow, even postal mail.
Yep. The key thing is, Ledger states clearly they will never contact you unsolicited by phone or text. They will never DM you first on social media asking for sensitive information or your seed phrase. Also, watch out for scam NFTs or random tokens that suddenly appear in your wallet. Sometimes they come with instructions embedded telling you to visit a specific website to claim a reward or migrate the token. Those links almost always lead to malicious sites designed to drain your wallet or install malware.
So many angles.
One more critical point. Always carefully review and confirm the transaction details on your physical Ledger device screen before you approve any transaction. Never just blindly click Approve. Make sure what the device screen shows matches exactly what you intended to do. If it looks different or asks you to approve something you didn't initiate, reject it immediately.
It really sounds like maintaining a constant state of vigilance is required across all platforms and communications when you're managing your own crypto. Is there any technical way, like for advanced users, to verify that a Ledger Live download is actually legitimate?
Well, yes. Legitimate software downloads do have verifiable digital signatures or cryptographic hashes that you can check against official sources. However, finding the reliably trusted official hash or signature and knowing how to verify it properly can sometimes be challenging for a standard user. It adds complexity. Honestly, the easiest and most impactful check you can make remains the most important one. Where did you download the application file from in the first place? Was it 100% directly from the official ledger.com website, verified URL and all? If not, treat it as hostile. Don't run it. Some very security-conscious users might even go the extra mile of downloading the official hash value published by Ledger, perhaps on a completely separate, trusted device or network, before verifying the downloaded installer file on their main computer, just to be absolutely paranoid that the hash itself hasn't been tampered with if their system was already compromised.
Okay, that's an advanced technique. What about interacting with decentralized applications? dApps using your Ledger. Is there risk there too?
Yes, absolutely. You need to be very cautious when connecting your Ledger to dApps or various websites, especially those that might ask you to blind sign transactions. Blind signing basically means you are approving a transaction on your Ledger device without the full, easily understandable details of what that transaction is actually doing being displayed clearly on your device's trusted screen.
So you're signing something without really knowing what it is.
Pretty much. Attackers can use this. They can craft a transaction that looks maybe harmless on the website, but the actual code being signed drains your wallet or proves infinite spending of your tokens. And if you blind sign it, you won't see those malicious details on the Ledger screen itself before you hit approve. So always ensure your Ledger device settings allow for clear transaction details to be displayed, clear signing, and always review them carefully on the device screen before confirming anything.
So stepping back again, this whole situation, this ongoing battle against these evolving attacks with attackers sharing techniques, it really highlights the constant need for vigilance when you're managing your own digital assets, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Even with incredibly secure hardware like a Ledger, the ultimate line of defense, that last backstop, still relies on the user protecting that master key, the 24-word seed phrase.
So we've seen how sophisticated these attacks have become. They're specifically targeting the user, the trust you place in your tools, your habits, maybe your moments of panic. It really is a high-stakes game of cat and mouse.
Exactly. The ingenuity here.
Yeah.
The phishing schemes, the malware that perfectly mimics legitimate software, the ways they bypass security checks, the specific targeting of crypto users, it just clearly shows that when the technical defenses like the hardware are strong, the human element becomes the primary target. That's where they focus.
And the key takeaway for you listening right now is stark, but it's simple. Your seed phrase is the ultimate defense for your crypto. It should never touch your computer screen, your phone screen, if you can possibly help it. And it should certainly never, ever be typed into a software application or a website pretending to be your wallet manager.
Or on the physical hardware device itself, using the buttons, and only for that initial setup or a genuine user-initiated recovery onto new hardware.
Right.
This all raises a really important, maybe uncomfortable question for anyone in the crypto space, especially those drawn to the idea of Self-custody. In an environment where the threats are constantly evolving, where they're primarily targeting you directly through increasingly sophisticated deception, how do you actually maintain true self-custody? How do you ensure the security of your digital assets without living in constant fear or paranoia? What does being your own bank really require in the face of such relentless social engineering and targeted malware?
That is a lot to think about, for sure. And keeping important information secure, it isn't just about crypto, is it? It's about protecting all your valuable digital assets, your business data, personal files, everything. And just a reminder before we wrap up, this deep dive was sponsored by Stonefly. They are leaders in enterprise storage, backup and disaster recovery, AI storage, and cloud solutions. If you're looking for secure, ransomware-proof storage options, Stonefly sells air-gapped and immutable storage solutions. You can contact sales@stonefly.com to schedule a demo and learn more.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Please stay safe out there. Be vigilant.
We really hope this deep dive gave you some valuable insights, some practical things to watch out for to help you navigate the crypto space more safely. Join us next time for another exploration into a complex topic.